we ask, does anyone have any questions from the recommended resources?
Um, Kind of more from CPP reference, but just basically trying to find an implementation for in-place vector and trying to use that as a way to get const basically like read from a file without having any sort of um, using a vector or anything like that, basically returning an in-place vector, which is a maximum size capacity vector. Um, if you know the maximum number of elements, if you can kind of use that to construct uh, a variable vector, um, and just return that rather than doing a fixed sized array from a
Hmm.
context per function.
Okay, okay. So I was thinking that you were breaking the rule, but I think that maybe you aren't. I guess CppRef now is in scope. Um, Now the other thing is it has to run on GCC 15.1.1, which is the most modern thing Fedora will run, which is the most modern operating system,
Yeah.
Linux. Um, but it was sort of a very broad question. And
It,
implementation, well, we wouldn't do that, would we here? You would do an implementation on your own, and then if you have a problem with it, you'd ask us. But anyway, let's play along for a little while and see what comes up with what your question. It was kind of long, but okay. So there's something called in-place vector in 26, and
yep.
maybe or maybe not my compiler, which is Qt Creator, Fedora, most modern GCC generally available. Um, and you wanted. I don't know if you had a question. Your question was, how do I find an implementation by somebody else? I don't know.
Yeah, at least an implementation library that's
Oh, a library
actually
that implements it? No, but that would be if it's
well,
stood,
yeah, it's a
it would be implemented already by GCC or Clang or somebody, right?
right. I mean, unfortunately, as far as I see, it's there on CPP reference that you have the uh looks like it's there should be some working examples, but it looks like um it's not like there's nothing that specifies that you can use C++26 as of right now. And it looks
Well, there
like
is
it's a
something
22.
on CPP ref. There is a fancy matrix um, which
Right, but
does document that, and then also GCC has very good documentation on what it implements and what it doesn't. So you'd
right.
want to check there, right? That you'd want to check
Oh,
there.
okay.
Um, but to show that we can be nice here. Have you checked there? And I can't. I don't know if I can get it using this Zeal tool here. And I might have a reference of it somewhere, but it'd probably take me 15 minutes to find it. So make the meeting really boring if I looked for it.
It looks
Um,
like it's not supported. It's not supported. I'm looking at it
oh, thanks.
on the compiler support. It's called compiler support. Obviously, it means library support. But
Okay,
the
yeah.
paper number is P0843, and there's no support on any of the platforms that are documented here.
Well, thank you very much, John. That was very kind of you to help have the meeting move forward. Therefore, Vishal, it's an interesting question, and you're always pushing the boundaries of C++ and what we have here. So thank you for the question. I'm going to rule it as
Right.
it's
Well, I have a
out of
question about the
scope.
question. What was
Yes.
it you were trying to do, Vishal? You wanted to be able to um,
Basically,
pass
you
memory into the vector. Was that what you were saying?
well, I wanted to use the in-place met vector as a return type for basically reading a file of ints and basically returning that as long as you have a fixed max size as a context per function, or context
Oh, I
per.
see. I understand now what you're trying to do. Okay. No. Okay. Thank you.
Because I think if you do a vector, because you won't be able to do that because of the allocator.
So now
Correct.
you're also asking whether vector is const expr and or in place vector would be const expr. And as
The
far as I know,
return type of
vectors.
well, the vector is const expr, but you can only use that inside of the const expr. You cannot return a vector from a const expr function as of yet.
Okay, so that shows that my ignorance here. But actually, even std vector is not const expr yet. I don't think in in my versions of GCC, or maybe it was std string or something stupid, something crazy simple
Both
wasn't const expr.
both string and std string and std vector is and is not const expr. You
Okay,
can you can process within a const expr function. You can process a std vector and do work on that. However, you cannot return that std vector and or std string.
okay. So the next question, these are called follow-ups. So we're following up here. So did I? To me, I'm again dumbfounded. I'm not sure if I understood it, but you want to read something off a file, either standard in or whatever, std sin or whatever, and it's in a variable number of integers, so you could be one integer, 100 integers, and you want to do that at compile time? Because to me,
Yeah,
const expr means compile time. You can't,
yeah,
that to me, that
but
it
you have
completely
but
doesn't make
you
sense.
the but the idea is that you have maximum number of items.
Sure. So you want but the compiler is running at compile time. The data that the program's trying to read is not available at compile time. So you're saying somehow the program is going to figure out the compile time is going to figure out the
Well,
length of the thing you're trying to read. To me, it seems impossible. It just seems like it's beyond, it seems
Well,
nonsensical.
so here's what people are attempting to do, and there's a lot of resistance in the standards committee because they think it's frightening and scary. But what they're trying to do is imagine you're writing a game program and you have this huge map that you would like to be part of your game program. It would be really cool if you could read that file in from your build system at compile time and construct the entire map in memory at compile time. So at runtime, all you do is call a function that just produces all this map data in place. Does that make
Okay,
sense?
well, yeah, that totally makes sense. As a matter of fact,
Right.
my
And
library.
so what that
Oh, go
means
ahead.
is that you need to be able to read a file at const expert time, but the file is not the user's file, it's part of your build system. And that's what scares people because it's like, wait a minute. That means uh, I could download a program and it tries to read files on my files. While I'm compiling it, it tries to go out to my file system and read files and then maybe act on what it finds. That's a little scary to some people. So that's why there's, and then of course there's lots and lots of technical issues if you were actually wanted to do that. So so but that's definitely what people are doing. And in fact, we've now have a feature, I think it's in C, where you can basically um, it's kind of like it's kind of like an include, but instead of including text, you actually just include data. You can just say, reach out to this file and grab these bytes and insert them right here. Um, and I think that was something that Jean Heed uh, fought for in the C world, and I think it's either in C++ or coming to C++.
Okay, well
Anyway,
that's
that's
helpful.
trying to go down that road.
Okay, wow. So it's not what I thought Vishal said, but interesting. Yeah, yeah.